Hi, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. Today is Thursday, March 17th, 2022. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I see Kim is wearing her green, very festive. It's also the start of March Madness for any college basketball fans out there. My name is Ashley Glover, and I am here with attorney Kim Christian. And this presentation is Spring Cleaning, a time for projects and planning. Let's do some housekeeping notes. Your mics are muted. Submit questions through the Zoom Q&A box. We are recording and we'll email you a link to the video. You can go back and watch it later in case you miss anything. Let us know how we did on the webinar survey. Today's program is is a half hour. If you need to message me about anything, please use the chat box. All right, let's introduce our speaker, attorney Kim Christian. Kim is a dedicated partner at the Russo Law Group. She's been with the firm for 15 years and has helped hundreds of clients with elder law, special needs, estate and trust planning across Long Island. Kim's a member of several bar and board memberships like NALA and the Academy of Special Needs Planners. She's also been recognized as a super lawyer rising star. So Kim, thank you for being here. Take it away.
Thanks for having me. And thanks everyone for joining us. Welcome, happy St. Patrick's Day, happy beginning of March Madness, and happy spring cleaning, where we are starting new projects, new planning, and evaluating, what needs to be done in our world. So Ashley, you can start the slide presentation. So what we will cover today. So today, planning for new projects. Why do I need an estate plan, right? We want to make sure we are updating our estate planning. We want to understand a little bit why we would want to do that. We want to understand what are the must-have legal documents for my estate plan. I call them the foundation. What's the foundation of your estate plan? What must I have in order to make sure I'm covered? And when and why should I update my existing estate plan? So I thought this webinar was appropriate for the beginning of spring, projects, things like that, because a lot of my clients and a lot of my colleagues, this is sort of a subject that sometimes we tend to put off. It's sometimes hard to confront. We have a lot of other things going on in our life. So I say, hey, let's dust it off. Let's talk about it. And, let's get some momentum on our new project, which is either implementing our estate plan or updating our estate plan. So who should have an estate plan and why? I mean, right? That's the question here. Why are we talking about this? What do we need? So first of all, everyone over 18 should have an estate plan. You just want to make sure that you're covered. In the event you need someone to make decisions for you, or if one day you're no longer here, you just want to make sure you have that roadmap that says how you want things to go. You want to make sure that your wishes are met, to ensure that someone is a voice for you. You want to maintain control over your life, your financial, your healthcare, your personal decisions. All of these things we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about what legal documents would allow us to keep that, those decision-making abilities. And second, we want to ensure that your assets pass to your loved ones in the most protective way with the least amount of cost. So for example, you want to provide and protect your family. Perhaps it's your spouse, perhaps it's your children, maybe it's all of them. Provide for a loved one if you have someone with special needs. Or, protect your assets if you become disabled and you need care. So all of these things are factors that play into why a person needs to update or implement their estate plan. Common objective of clients. So I thought this would be, just a good jumping off slide, because likely, these are likely you have the same or some of the same objectives as many of my clients do. So common objectives, you may own a house that you want to protect. Some of my clients say to me, wow, Kim, the cost of care is so high. Is there a way you can make sure my house is protected in the event I need long-term care? You may need Medicaid home care or a nursing home care and don't want to lose your assets. We can also implement a plan where we save or eliminate estate taxes. You may want to protect your children from creditor, marital problems, lawsuits, things of that nature. And you want to ensure that your assets pass to your family with little or no delay or difficulty. Now, it's not all or nothing. Some of these objectives, someone may have all of these objectives, or it may be a hybrid of a few. But it's important that when you meet with your planning attorney, you discuss your objectives. The first question I say is, I want to hear from you. What are your objectives? And then I'll take it from there. But it's important that you share so you can come up with a comprehensive plan. So what happens, common problems when there is no estate plan? So sometimes we put things off, we don't get to it. What could happen if you don't have one in place? I picked some of the top 5 things that can happen. It doesn't mean that there's not more, but you may have to spend down what you have if you require long-term care. In our area, cost of care is very expensive. Sometimes assets pass to unintended beneficiaries. You wanted it to go somewhere else. You didn't get a chance to update things, and now it's passing to someone or some people that you would have rather not have it go to. It sometimes results in family disputes over assets. One of the things I say is, the clearer you can be, the less likely there'll be a dispute. Loss over government benefits for a loved one, this can be catastrophic. If someone's on a means tested program and you leave assets to them outright, and now they either lose their, for example, SSI or Medicaid, right? So you want to be very protective in a situation like that. And sometimes it can cause unnecessary taxes. So these are some of the most common problems. It doesn't mean that they're the only problems, but there's certainly good reasons why you want to look into implementing or updating your estate plan. So what are some benefits of estate planning? Well, one benefit, it allows you to choose who will make decisions for you if you're unable to do so. And in the next few slides, I'm going to walk you through some of the particulars that I think are very important. I'm going to go back to the word foundation, the foundation of your estate plan. So we'll talk about the specifics of benefit 1 in a little bit. Benefit 2, you want to protect your assets for you and your family or other heirs or other beneficiaries. We'll walk through that in a little bit as well. And benefit 3, of course, you want to be the decision maker. You want to decide who's going to receive your assets, when, and in what way. So these are 3 benefits to estate planning. Let's get into some of the specifics now. So as promised, the must-have legal documents, also known in my world as the foundation of your estate plan. If I'm building a house, I want to make sure I've got the floor and the walls and the roof, so I have that foundation in place. So I recommend that everyone has a durable power of attorney. Everyone implements healthcare directives, which consist of a healthcare proxy, a living will, a medical HIPAA authorization, and a last will and testament, or a living trust. So who has the right to make decisions? This is critical. Well, if you have capacity, you have the right to make your own decisions. But if you decline in capacity, you want to make sure that you have someone you trust in place to be able to make those decisions for you. The first document I'd like to highlight is something called the durable power of attorney. The durable power of attorney is for financial decision making. It takes no power away from you, but it says if I need or want someone to make financial decisions for me, then I can nominate the following people to do that for me. For example, my power of attorney nominates my husband first, right? That's an example. Then you can put, for example, your daughter next, or your son, or whatever the case is, someone who's a trusted individual. And that power of attorney is there. So if you need assistance with financial decisions, they can manage things like paying your bills, accessing your bank account to keep your world running, managing brokerage accounts, helping you maintain where you live, your real estate, or if it needs to be sold, they can help you with that too. They can make sure you continue to get your income, deal with Social Security and any pension issues. So it's really very important, because without it, and we'll talk about it briefly, but I'll mention it, your loved one may end up in guardianship court requesting permission to help you, when if you just had this foundation document in place, you might avoid it. So we just talked about the power of attorney, which is for financial decision making. Let's move into the healthcare arena. Financial decisions are very important, but your healthcare is very important too, right? So you have the right to make your own decisions. The healthcare professionals will always ask you first what you want. But in the event you can't make your own healthcare decisions, you want to have a healthcare proxy in place. A healthcare proxy is a document that stipulates who would make healthcare decisions for you in the event you can't make your own. And it's from the smallest healthcare decision, should mom have this surgery? Should mom take this medication? All the way to end of life decision making. And in that healthcare proxy, it's critical that you name the right person, because this person is essentially going to be stepping in your shoes and making the decisions regarding your healthcare because you are unable to do so at that time. So you want to name a primary agent. You want to name successor agents if you have them. Those are backups. And this will come into play if you lack the ability to make your own decisions or you lack capacity. You have the ability to stipulate whether you'd like organ donation or no organ donation. So it allows you to express your wishes, and it allows you to speak to whether you'd want artificial nutrition and hydration. One of the things I say about the healthcare proxy is when you nominate someone, have a discussion with them. Tell them, hey, listen, I know, if I'm ever in this situation, this is what I would want. So the healthcare proxy is a really important document. And as I said earlier, the clearer you can be, the less problematic it will be. So make sure you're naming those people that you want so that there's no ambiguity as to who's going to represent you. So the next document is something called a living will, also known as a healthcare declaration. This is about life-sustaining treatment decisions, also referred to as end-of-life decision-making. So a living will comes into place when you are in a situation where you are in a permanent, persistent vegetative state, or your death is imminent, and the doctors agree there's no chance or reasonable chance that you will be coming back absent these extraordinary needs. So this is an instruction as to the withdrawal or the withholding of extraordinary life-sustaining treatments. Sometimes people put triggering events or time frames, but it's important because it's your decision and it reflects your beliefs on something so critical. One of the things you can put in there is I would like to die naturally if I'm in this situation, but I'm okay with pain medication. So essentially in this living will, you can tailor it to what would make sense for you, what you would want if in the event you met that threshold and you didn't want to be kept alive by extraordinary needs. So before I move on to the last will and testament, because that is part of our foundation, that is part of our four walls and the floor and the roof of our house, I just want to reiterate that the last few documents I talked about are critical. Those matter while you're alive. So it's your durable power of attorney for financial decision-making, your healthcare proxy and your HIPAA release for healthcare decisions, and your living will for end-of-life instructions. All right, so let's move to the last will and testament. A last will and testament is very important. I call it my roadmap. It's my roadmap as to what I would want to have happen when I pass away. So you're able to appoint who controls your estate, who's going to manage it, who's going to make sure that your desires are carried out. Your last will and testament allows you to control who inherits your assets. So you are putting down specifically in writing who you would want to inherit your estate. You can provide for loved ones in a protective way. Let me give you an example. If someone had a child with special needs, they might not leave that child's share outright. Instead, they may direct it into a supplemental needs trust. That's an example. Or if I had a child who I knew perhaps had a marital problem or perhaps had difficulty managing money, I might leave it in a protective way in a trust that addresses that, right? So that's some of the ways we can leave things in a protective way. Guardian designations, critical. Anybody who has children that are under 18, you want to make sure you stipulate in your will who the guardians of those children are going to be, right? That's such an important decision. And of course, you can have something that talks about your burial wishes, right? Or your specific wishes. You can have a separate document for that called a burial designation, or you can have it in your will, but it's an important part of your estate plan. Living trusts. Okay, so a lot of times my clients will say to me, why would I do one trust over another trust, Kim? Or why would I do a trust at all? I have a will. If I have a will, I'm good, right? Well, yes, in the sense of you have your foundation and it will address, some of your assets, but sometimes people do trusts for additional reasons. Number one, they want to do something called avoiding probate. Avoiding probate happens when I pass away and I have no asset that was left in my name alone. So for example, it wasn't jointly owned, it didn't have a beneficiary on it, it wasn't held in a trust. That would cause probate. So to avoid probate, I want to either have everything jointly owned, have a beneficiary on it, or hold it in a trust. And oftentimes it's a hybrid. You have a few assets one way, you have a few assets another way, but you never leave anything alone. So avoiding probate is a big reason why people pick living trusts. Another big reason is they want to protect their assets. I mentioned earlier that the cost of care where we live is very high and the rules can be very strict. There's look back periods, there's all kinds of things. So many of my clients set up asset protection trusts and they fund those trusts. So after a period of time, if they need long-term care, then they have their assets protected. Some people do it to protect their family. This is a third reason. We call it a family protection trust, also known, I call it a safe trust because the assets are safe for your loved one. You can protect your family. I mentioned some of the reasons earlier, right? Sometimes we call it a parent's prenuptial agreement for their own child. They keep the assets separate property. They leave their assets in trust for their child. Sometimes they do it for creditor reasons. They know their child has a creditor problem. There's so many reasons. Special needs would be another example. And you can set up trusts to help protect that person. We also have a fourth reason, and it's a popular reason. People want to make sure that they reduce estate taxes, frankly, reduce or eliminate estate taxes. So there are certain kinds of trusts and planning that can be implemented to make sure we do that. So I've talked about why, I've talked about what. So now let's talk about when should I update my estate planning? And I love that little graphic there. It's a clock, it's a stopwatch, because there's no time like the present to try to get your estate planning in place. So some of the things is, the rule of thumb is, if you have an existing estate plan, you should update it about every 3 to 5 years. So I recommend like a checkup, like going to your doctor. If you have an estate plan, go in every few years, have it reviewed by your attorney, right? Because sometimes you'd be surprised. Perhaps it doesn't say what you thought it said, or that you remembered it saying, or, oh, I didn't realize that person, passed away a year ago and I need to pick a new executor, right? It could have been a friend from a long time ago, or you just want to update things to reflect new events that happened. So yeah, every few years you come in for a checkup, you make sure your estate plan's in order, or you want to come in with big occurrences, things like getting married, things like having, a birth, whether it be birth of a grandchild, whether it be birth of a child. Oh, it says we lost sound. They can't hear me anymore. Can you hear me now?
Kim, I can hear you. I think you're okay.
Okay. So marriage, the birth of a grandchild, a divorce, major changes in assets, whether they've increased or decreased. You're about to retire and you just want to make sure you have things in place. You have a health diagnosis that needs to be addressed. And if there's unfortunately a death of a loved one, you should contact us to help with the estate planning. I'd also put in there the sale of a house. That's important too, or the purchase of one. All of these things are big events where you want to update your estate planning, even if it's before the few years that I spoke about earlier. All right, so wrapping up, I said a lot, but I feel that everything I said is critical because it's your foundation. The foundation of your estate plan is that you want to have a last will and testament and a trust, or a trust. You don't have to necessarily have both, but what you do want to have is that roadmap. I cannot stress to you the importance of making your intentions clear so that when you pass away, what you want occurs. So, I'm being very straightforward about it because it's so important, and it results in protecting loved ones. It results in, making sure all of your desires are met. So last will and testament and a trust are very important. Also, advance directives, making sure that someone is your voice, someone that you trust is in place in the event you can't make your own healthcare or financial decisions. So your durable power of attorney, that is for financial decision making. It takes no power away from you, but it says in the event you need someone or want someone to make those decisions for you, pay your bills, keep your world running. If you can't protect your assets, then make sure you have that durable power of attorney. The healthcare proxy, right? What's more important than your health? And making sure that your healthcare wishes are followed out, right? And it's from the smallest decision, as I said earlier, decisions about your care, decisions about your well-being, decisions on whether you should take a certain medication, or decisions about whether you should have a certain surgery, or really profound decisions like end-of-life decision-making. You just want to make sure you have that person that's going to carry out those wishes for you. And speaking of those wishes, you have a chance to put them in writing regarding end-of-life decision-making. So your living will, right? You can put that in place and you can say, if I'm ever in this, prolonged state, let me go peacefully, for example. You want to make sure you have your HIPAA authorizations ready so that your healthcare agents are not making any decisions in the vacuum. They can speak to your doctors, they can review your medical records, they can make sure that they're carrying out your wishes. And then we have the burial designation. We just want to make sure that all of your wishes are carried out, including how you would want to be buried, or if it's cremation, or if it's a combination of things. There's so many options, and you just want to be clear about it up to then as well. So this, to me, is the foundation of your estate plan. You know, if you have one already, I want you to dust it off. I want you to come in for a checkup. You know, you can feel good about spring cleaning. I just rejoined the gym, so that's one of the things that were on my list for spring cleaning. I'm going to relook at my estate plan too, right? I've since had another child, so I've got to make sure that that's all up to date. And you know, it's just so important. So dust it off if you have one, bring it in, we'll review it. If you don't have one yet, now's the time. Let's do it. Let's get this foundation in place so that we have peace of mind, we can put it behind us, and we can feel good moving forward. So what do I do now? Now we got to create a plan. We got to make sure our legal documents are comprehensive and up to date. And you got to just make that final step and make sure it's implemented. So I'm going to open it up for questions. I feel like the timing's perfect. We have a few minutes. So here we go. Jim gave us a question. And before I answer the question, I just want to let you know there's a question and answer box. And you can type in your questions. And to the extent I'm able to answer them, I'm happy to do so. So can you protect your IRA account from paying for long-term care, or do you have to spend it down? It's an interesting question. So, you know, I always say this is a very general presentation. So you should always speak to us directly about specific questions. But when it comes to Medicaid, it depends on which kind of Medicaid you're looking to obtain. So for example, if I go on home care, right, and I put my IRA in the correct payout status, then Medicaid will say the corpus or the principal of the IRA is protected, didn't need to go past that look back period, and the income would be countable. But because I'm on home care, I have the ability to establish something called a charitable pooled income trust, which goes hand in hand with Medicaid home care. And it allows me to take those distributions that Medicaid requires me to take, and instead of giving it to them, I can actually fund this pooled trust. And this pooled trust can be used for my benefit to pay my bills. So in essence, that's a way of getting your income back from the IRA, even if you're on Medicaid or home care, or also known as community Medicaid. If I go into a nursing home, you know, there's exceptions to every rule, but typically speaking, the income that you get will be attributed toward your nursing home care, and Medicaid would cover the rest. Like I said, there's exceptions. It's a case-by-case basis, but that's the overarching rule.
Kim, I actually had 2 questions emailed to me right before we kicked this off.
Oh, okay.
And they're good ones, so I want to make sure we get them. I can get them asked here.
Okay.
How important is estate planning when you have 3 adult children with kids of their own?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so how important is estate planning when you have 3 adult children and they have kids of their own? I think it's critical, because I find that a lot of my clients care about their legacy. They care about, you know, making sure that they pass down what they can. I always say to my clients, spend your money, live your life. But if there is something that you want to pass to someone, make sure it's clear. And what's really important about the question, or what I identify as one of maybe the gems of the question, is those children that you have children. So you have an opportunity to not only pass a legacy to your own children, but also to your grandchildren. And you can do it in a protective way. You can leave assets to a certain age for them. You can leave assets for schooling for them. You can do so many things that you would want. So I think it's really important. And on a serious note, and not that the other wasn't serious, but maybe a profound note, if God forbid one of your children passed before you, we could also make sure that their share passes to their children. So, I would say it's really important, 10 out of 10.
So it's a
Thanks.
great answer. um, this kind of piggybacks on that. It's from the same person, but can you just touch on why it's important when you have one adult child with no kids and no husband? She mentioned
Mhm.
that that's her beneficiary.
Right. So why is it will important when you have one adult child, no spouse, doesn't seem to be grandkids in it? There's a couple of reasons. Number one, we don't know what the future holds for that child. So you just want to make sure that you leave things in a way that addresses any sort of outliers or deviations that may happen regarding that child. The next thing is, in the event the natural order of things does not work out the way we want, sadly, and that child passes before you, you also want to be very clear about where things would go after that. And then on a different note, you may wish to say, hey, listen, I'm going to leave everything to that child, but I would like to leave something to a charity, or, someone that's very close to me. So there's, positive reasons, there's cautious reasons why we do things, but really and truly, everyone should have a will.
Okay. Thank you, Kim.
You're
So
welcome. I just want to, before we part, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. I just want to say, we're happy to help, and spring is the time to get that momentum going. And I wish you all a great day, a happy St. Patrick's Day, a happy Thursday, and all of those good things.
happy March Madness.
Happy March Madness.
I could probably sum up this slide really quick by just saying what makes us different is we have Kim Christian and other law firms don't. Haha. But just to touch, we are dedicated to providing our clients with peace of mind and delivering the most comprehensive estate plans to fit your needs. We can also help you if you find yourself in times of crisis. We truly care. We've served the community for 35 years. We have 3 convenient office locations. We'll make home visits, arrange for out of office signings, and virtual appointments for you. Here's a list of the services that we provide and all the different ways that we can help you and your family. I would urge anyone who has questions, give us a call. We're happy to speak with you on a more one-on-one basis. Having said that, we appreciate all of you for joining us. Please leave us your feedback in the post-webinar survey. And as the slide says, happy St. Patrick's Day. You guys be good, stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.